our podcast, we will be discussing white privilege and unconscious biases.
So basically, we created different images that have secret meanings behind them that we both knew and tried to represent in drawing those images.
Recently in ELA class, we read a book called All American Boys. In this book, it's split up into two perspectives, Rashad and Quinn. Rashad is exposed to police brutality, and it's very important for Quinn to see this, as the policeman who hurt Rashad is Quinn's best friend's older brother.
Yeah, and this was really difficult for Quinn to come to terms to, because he had a girl he likes called Jill, and she was definitely on the side of Rashad. And she was like, police brutality was horrible. Paul needs to be reprimanded for this. And Quinn was split between friends and technically what's right.
Yes.
And because he didn't want to be judged by his family and friends, which were so close, and especially at school, the school was kind of split. Like, a lot of the people on the basketball team believed in Rashad's side, and Quinn didn't know whether to be on his friend's side or, like, the majority side, like the right side.
Yeah, especially also because, it took Quinn a while, just because his whole life he had grown up with the idea that Paul is this amazing person. He was his
Father figure.
a father figure to him, and for him to witness Paul hurting someone so much in such a physical way, it was very mind-opening, and for him to experience that just kind of changed his life in a whole basically.
So basically, the drawings we did, some of them connect back to the book. Like my drawings, I did them in a family circus comic kind of way, and this represents, Rashad was very into these comics, because he was very intrigued by like the message behind it. It was a basic white family in a circle kind of outline, like a cutout, and so he was interested in this because it was like different perspectives. It was like, you could see it in so many different ways. And what I did is I drew two images for each, one as a white family and one with a black family, to represent, even though that's their daily lives and it's normal for them, they both experience different things.
Yeah, their lives can be so different even in the simplest of ways. And add on to what Rachel said, it was also just the idea of how simplistic the comics were. It was a stupid little catchphrase, and there was meaning behind it, but it was very basic and simple, and it was just very like appealing to him, how he was just like, man, this simple family has such simple lives, and it seems so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, it's just so simple.
Yeah.
So the first drawing I did was, again, like I said, a family circus comic, and it was two different kids shopping at a store. They're both white, and there's a janitor behind them, just being a janitor like normal. And so the caption reads, no, I get to pick the food, I'm older. And this is the older brother speaking to the younger brother. And it's completely normal. Like, this is just a normal day in their lives. But for the second family circus comic, what I changed is, of course, their race. Here they are black, and you can see behind them that the janitor is looking over at them.
Yeah.
And this is one of the unconscious biases. She assumed, kind of without thought, that
with
they would
thought,
steal.
but like without a thought, because that's just like what she is used to thinking. So it's something our brains are basically just then programmed to do, because if we learn it one way, that's the way we think is right, and so
it's just her normal. And so everything is kept the same except those two changes, because like I said, this is normal life for them. They're used to having people judge them wrongly, and so that's why the caption is the same, because this is still their normal life. It's not changed in any way. And so
it's just also, I think it's very important to see that even though it's such a subtle change with the direction of the eyes of the janitor, it still makes a very big difference, because it just shows that race has a very big impact on what we see in people and what we expect of them, and so
just what we think they're capable of doing.
Yes, and what they
So according to a 2016 study done by the law program at University of Michigan, even though African Americans only make up 13% of America's population, and this study was done in 2016, so this percentage could be a little inaccurate, African Americans make up 47% of innocent defendants wrongfully convicted of crimes, and this I thought was really represented in this, because people are making judgments of them that are just wrong, and this happens in our daily lives.
Yeah, definitely. So for my first drawing, I decided to draw a little black girl holding a kid's book that has a world on it, and it says "One World Together," and around the world are little kids holding hands. And the little kids, there's something that's similar about them all is that they're all white. This causes the little girl to ask her mother why no one looks like her. And I found that from an article on Scholastic Magazine, it is the three main reasons on why it's important for kids to see themselves in literature is one, to create a mirror to identity, two, to create it helps to create and inspire impact in the world, and lastly, it allows connections to be built.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of unrelated, but Barbie is a big factor of that. They're now starting to diversify just her shape,
And
like
her ethnicity and everything.
ethnicity and race, and I think that helps build confidence for kids' future careers, because Barbie has so many careers, and they're just starting to, because in the
broaden
past,
the spectrum
broaden
even
the
more than it
spectrum,
already
yeah.
was. Yeah. Oh, I like that. Thank you. But yeah, it's just really important for kids to see themselves or people who look like them in literature, as it gives them strength to know that they can really do anything they put their mind to. For them to see themselves in situations, even if it's as simple as reading a book or going to school, it allows, like I said before, for connections to be built, and it helps little kids in so many ways. Stories of other people's lives can help us better understand our world, and for little kids to see themselves, like I said, in simple experiences, it
helps motivate them.
Yeah, it really does, because they're able to experience diversity and better prepare themselves for the future of growing up.
And make them think that they can accomplish anything, which
Yes,
is true,
definitely.
no matter race, ethnicity, or gender.
Yes, because it shouldn't be about that. It should really just be about who you are as a
About
person.
confidence.
Yes.
Yeah. The second drawing I drew was in the same format as my first one, with the Family Circus comic. And so basically what I drew in that was a mom and a son. And the son was asking the mom, and this is what I put as the caption, like, why is my name Jack? And so, like, for the first one, this is just a normal thing. I've asked my parents, like, why'd you name me this? And they'll give me an explanation on how they went through different names. But then the second one is a black kid asking their mom, like, why'd you name me Jack? And so this one has, like, a different outcome. And this is, I would expect that the mom would say, just because I liked it. But a big reason sometimes people name their children white-sounding names, even if they're not white, is because they just do better job performance-wise. Like, according to a study at Ryerson University and the University of Toronto, this study was done in 2017, they sent out almost 13,000 fake resumes to over 3,000 job postings, and they found out people with Chinese, Indian, or Pakistani-sounding names were 28% less likely to get invited to an interview than their fictitious English and white-sounding names, even if their qualifications were identical. And so another study done by The Atlantic said that names like Emily Walsh, which are more white-sounding, got nearly 50% more callbacks than candidates with black-sounding names like Keisha Washington. And the last thing that researchers determined that I researched was having a white-sounding name can be as much of 8 years as work experience, like, in other people's eyes.
Yeah. It's, like, really sad in the fact that that's something
it's
people
just
have
a
to worry
name.
about. It's just a name. And for you to get, like, I remember I also read the same article. For the fake resumes, they were the exact same resumes they had.
Just the name change.
Just the name change, the qualifications, job experience, everything was the same, but the names really changed.
Yeah, I know for your high school that you are applying to, they have a thing where you don't put, like, your race.
Yes. For one of the essays I have to write, it's you submit it, like, and they know who it's from, but in the article or in the essay, you don't add any information about your name, anyone you know's names, or any, like, identifying information. So the people who decide on who's the winning essays are, they can read them and have a really unbiased view on the person, which I think is like very helpful in a sense. And so, yeah.
And that connects back to the unconscious bias.
Mhm.
Like, they're saying the workers that they hire to accept people, they're not biased. But it's the fact of unconscious bias that they unconsciously, like, are like, this person has this name.
We shouldn't hire them. Oh, this person, oh, I kind of like their name, even if they're technically.
Because sometimes
the
even
exact same.
familiar names.
Yeah.
That ring a bell. Like, I also heard some studies, like, people with easy, like, sounding names, they're just liked more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow, that's...
Because it's just a basic name to remember, and you're more likely to remember facts about them.
So for my next drawing, I chose to draw a black man standing in front of a mirror. And the mirror is really showing who you see yourself as. So this man is seeing himself in a very well presentable image, yes. He's wearing a suit and he just looks presentable overall.
And professional.
Yeah, professional, definitely. And then who we see the man as is a man who is having a dirty clothes, his pants are sagging, and it would give him the look, or the stereotypical look of a thug. And I chose to draw this because it really connects back to our book of All American Boys, as while in the story, Rashad is wrongly accused by a police officer for stealing a bag of chips because of what he looked like. Not only was it his race, it was the clothes he was wearing. His pants were saggy, and it made him look, like how I said before, like a thug, which is an unconscious bias that we shouldn't believe just because of what someone's wearing. It doesn't relate or mirror to who they are as a person.
Yeah, and it sometimes kind of blinds people to the real them. Like Paul mentioned, or not Paul, sorry, his brother Spoonie, he mentioned to his dad when his dad was like, oh, it was probably just a misunderstanding. He's like, did he see your ROTC uniform when the bag was open?
Yes.
But Paul probably never took that into consideration. Even if he did see it, he was probably too distracted by the fact, by the looks of Rashad, by the race, and just the circumstance he found himself in, that just assumptions were made.
Yeah, and like connecting it back to what you just said, during ELA, I just remembered, we also did another activity looking at images of, I think it was 8 different images, 4 different people. And on the left, there was a photo of a person who looked worse, I guess, than the more unprofessional or a dangerous person or a threat in a sense. And then this person to the the right of them was very well presented. They looked like they had probably a lot of money and they went very far in their life. And it was the exact same people, and they were just in outfits, which it really just shows that like the same person, based on what they're wearing, changes your whole perspectives of them, even though you've never met them. And it was such a surreal experience, I feel like, just because when we first started looking at the images, we didn't put 2 and 2 together that they're the same person. We were like, oh, they look kind of similar, like, oh,
yeah, you're just
that's kind of cool. But then when we really noticed it, we were like, wow, that's insane how we made these different biases against each person without even knowing that they were the exact same.
Because in it, you kind of separated into 2 groups: professional and just unprofessional, kind of someone you wouldn't go up to on the street. And on the right, they looked
well put together, very nice.
Very nice. My last drawing was about like the school system and just teachers in general, and sometimes even principals. It's my first drawing was about a little girl, and she was sent to the office. And I did these 2 drawings because it can be interpreted in 2 ways. You can think of the little girl as she did something bad, and she's supposed to be reprimanded for that and have consequences. But the caption is this: I'm letting you off with a warning. And she gets that, like we said, daily white privilege of just being let off with a warning, and she doesn't get any consequences. Yeah. But with the black girl, she did like the same thing, but she has the caption, I have to suspend you, meaning that she doesn't get
the same
right
privilege.
Yeah, she doesn't get the right consequences. Like I was saying, this can have 2 different circumstances. It's that they both did something wrong and should have consequences for that. And so the black girl, she gets that. But the white girl, she gets out of it because of her privilege. But the other circumstance is they both didn't do anything wrong. and the white girl, she wasn't supposed to be reprimanded
Yeah,
for that,
so-
so she doesn't, and that's fine.
Normal.
That's
fine.
normal.
That's what was supposed to happen.
And so with the black girl, she just because of her race, she gets suspended unjustly.
Yeah, just like kind of how I sorry to butt in, but just like kind of how I was saying it. It's truly just about your race, because even if she didn't do anything wrong, the idea that but she could have done it.
Yeah.
It's the big well maybe. So
Yeah, like I have a story from ABC News in 2013. A girl named Wilmot. She had a science project, and she made a volcano, and it was much more complicated than baking soda and vinegar. So she brought it into class thinking that like the teacher needed to go over it by looking at it in person. So the teacher was like, why don't you set it off while you're here just to see it? And they did it outside of the cafeteria. They set it off, and since it was so powerful, the lid popped off and it started smoking. Like no people were hurt,
nothing
and no
was
school
damaged,
property was
yeah.
damaged. But she was sent to juvenile detention where she was arrested on bomb charges just because that there technically wasn't a science
project.
A
So
project
to
that
bring
would- yeah.
in a volcano there was really no reason,
There was no
to
reason
do
to
it,
do
even
it.
though she believed that she
Like-
had to get it checked
Yeah.
before it was the actual
And so
project.
there's a similar a situation with a kid named Ahmed that made a homemade clock for another science project, but it was mistaken for a bomb. And this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like what? It's more of just like that's
a shocking
stupid.
thing. Yeah.
She set off a volcano. Nothing was damaged. No one was hurt.
But she
But-
got sent to juvenile detention.
And she was
which
still
is-
suspended for 10 days.
Yes.
Nothing wrong. And the charges
But-
were dropped, but still suspended for 10 days.
Yeah.
Which is just wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
Definitely. There's
imagine
no
that happening at OSM.
Yeah, just no reason, and then you have to miss out on your education, especially, which is like a big part of your childhood. Even if you don't want to go to school some days, it propels you into the future. It's how you
And
learn.
I bet that affected her college.
Yes,
that
definitely.
would
It
be
was-
put on her.
Yes, it would be
record.
put on her record, and to say that you were sent to detention due to bomb charges, that
That's very
definitely
severe.
changes
Yeah.
your life. And so for inconvenience that wasn't even true to happen, it's like
It's just
insane. Yeah. For my last drawing, I chose to draw a mom and a son sitting on a train next to a stranger. In the first drawing, the stranger is a white man, and nothing's happening. They're all minding their own business, and they're just sitting on the train. But in the next photo, the man is black, and as you can see, the mom has her arm wrapped around the kid, bringing him in closer. This shows that the mom is protecting the kid from something that's
That
not
doesn't
even
need to be
there.
protected.
Yes, exactly. The man is doing nothing wrong, and he's just minding his own business, just like the man previously. But because of his race, the woman suspects that he is going to do something wrong to her child, therefore bringing him in closer.
Yeah, and I feel like this was, like, we're talking about unconscious biases. This was just an instinct.
Yes, definitely.
It was just
Something that she thought.
she didn't think about.
Yeah, she just
almost.
did it because
She just did it because she saw his race and assigned him almost a role.
Yes. And I mean, any mother wants to protect their child,
But this is
this is in the wrong way because she is protecting him from something
that doesn't need to be.
it doesn't need to be protected from. And for her to do this, it automatically installs something in his brain that, oh, my mom's doing this. I should be knowing this, and that will change his future in a sense, because now anytime he's near a black person, he may say to himself, oh, are they going to hurt me because of this instance?
Yeah, I
Or,
wasn't even
like-
thinking about that. Like,
I
it
know, I
could
just
change
came to
him.
Yeah, it could change him, because if this is something the mom continuously does, it will be installed in his brain that this is what I need to do to help other people around me.
Because so many things from our parents rub off on us.
Yes, definitely.
Like, we wouldn't be who we are without our parents.
No,
our
definitely.
personalities are built
Are
off of our
built
parents
off
and family.
And what we experience,
Mhm.
our personalities, like how you said, are built are built off our experiences as well, just like how I was saying. And then also, like how Rachel said, she said how 47% of the time a Black person is wrongly accused of a crime they didn't commit. And we all have these unconscious biases that allow us to change our belief, and when we see something happening, we automatically assume that there is something going wrong or about to go wrong, even if we're perfectly fine.
Even if, we're in a completely safe situation, just things we might think that could happen are normally associated just by looks.
Yeah.
Which, isn't
it's
right.
It's not right, because, I mean, we've stated this countless times, but you really have to meet the person and understand them, because looks aren't everything. It's not a reflection of your character. It may be your style of what you like, but that doesn't mean your style corresponds with who you are.
Or just even your skin color.
Yeah, definitely.
To wrap up, all these privileges that we talked about today, we should use them to other people's advantage.
Yes, like other people.
Especially who don't have that privilege. And especially right now, during all the Black Lives Matter protests, we need to use our voices when others are silenced.
Yes, definitely. Can I say one example? Yeah. So I know one example from these Black BLM protests that are happening is a lot of the times a white person will stand in front of a group of Black people or in front of a Black person in between them and a cop, protecting these Black people, because we know a lot of the times
cops will
most of the time they will act on the Black people instead of the white people, therefore giving a invisible but visible barrier, helping the silence
while
people.
Still voices are being heard.
Yes, definitely.
And I think that's really important.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in today to our podcast. Hope you enjoyed, and definitely hope you learned something and maybe even change your perspective.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Oh my god! Dev.